It's mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. You can use hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. I am your host, Harrison Graham, so go ahead, get your questions in, and we will answer as many as we can. All right, Tyler Houston is first up here, hashtag Bears. Is it true that the Bears gave Ryan Pace a one-year extension, and what would you think about Trubisky being re-signed? Bill Zimmerman, Chicago SiriusXM producer guy, had this to say. He threw this out there. Had someone tell me that Pace got the one-year extension to match it with Nagy. If true, don't expect a firing of those two this year, and maybe they reassess after 2021. He later retracted and deleted that tweet and said, after continuing to dig, I'm not 100% on this. It may or may not be true, but I'm going to delete the tweet so misinformation doesn't potentially spread. Apologies on being premature. I don't really, so basically who knows, right? I would guess it hasn't, and even if it has, that doesn't mean they can't fire Pace and Nagy. As far as Trubisky goes, I think there's a possibility he could be re-signed, and we'll go ahead and pair that with Vinny's question here, kind of on the same topic. Could Trubisky return if he rallies the Bears to the playoffs? I think that is the one scenario, right? Let's say the Bears win out 6-7, you get to 9-7, and Trubisky, I will concede, has played much better since returning for the second stint this year. He's played a lot better. I think sitting back and watching Nick Foles has helped him a lot. I'm not going to say he's a different quarterback. He's played two bad defenses in a row in Detroit and in Houston. If he plays well against Minnesota on the road and keeps the Bears' playoff hopes alive, maybe I'll start to be more of a believer, but this is a very small sample size. We have a large sample size of Trubisky not playing that well, but if he rallies the Bears to the playoffs and, dare I say, wins a playoff game, certainly the conversation can at least be had at that point, right? I don't know if we've really entered the realm of having that conversation. I still think it's draft a quarterback or trade for someone like Dak Prescott this offseason. Obviously, we'll wait and see when we get there, but Bears are still in the hunt. Game back. You got the Vikings this week. Game back of the Cardinals. If you get a little bit of help from them, the Bears have a better NFC record, so you win out, Cardinals lose a game, you're in the playoffs. It's pretty much as simple as that. And if you can get through this Vikings game, it probably comes down to Week 17, because I can't imagine the Bears are going to lose on the road at Jacksonville. Obviously, you never know. And then, comes down to the Packers like it always seems to do. So this is the big one, the Vikings game this week. So we'll see on Trubisky. He's got an opportunity, though, and that's all you can ask for at the end of the day. Should the Bears bring back Mitch if they make the playoffs, especially if he's a big reason why, if he rallies them there? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Should Trubisky return if the Bears make the playoffs? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments section. I can get a couple of shout-outs here as well. Y for yes, N for no. Let's see here. Caden, L2 Beast, The Knob, Ben, a lot of yeses coming in. So, hey, the Bears make the playoffs. Maybe Trubisky could return. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's show. You can answer right there. First last, will the Bears trade up for Zach Wilson? A lot of Zach Wilson questions recently. Again, it kind of depends where you're picking, right? Like if the Bears, let's say the Bears rally and miss the playoffs by a game, but they have like the 18th, 19th pick, you might be too far out of contention at that point to trade up for Wilson. Wilson could go top 5. I'm not even kidding. Now, if he slides to 8 or 9 and you're picking at 14 and you feel good about him, trade up and go get him. That is certainly a possibility. But if the Bears keep winning, they might play themselves out of Zach Wilson range, which is what I was kind of worried about and why I suggested maybe it's better if the Bears end up tanking. But I'm not gonna fault this team for trying to win and make the playoffs. These players should and these coaches should try to win because that's what you do if you're a professional. Now, we've got deals because the holidays are here for you guys. Bears gear on sale for up to 50% off at chatsports.com/BearsDeal. A lot of this stuff would make for a perfect Christmas present. If you're watching live here on Tuesday, if you order this stuff today, it will get there by Christmas. If you wait for a later day, may not get there in time. So go ahead, take advantage. Chatsports.com/BearsDeal. These shoes are like 30% off. That's a sweet look. You got this t-shirt and hat combo for, I believe, $25 or $30. It's a great deal right now. Chatsports.com/BearsDeal. You can get this long sleeve sweater as well. I think it's a good looking one too. Tons more gear as well, some jerseys, some hats, some socks, all kinds of good stuff for you guys. Chatsports.com/BearsDeal. Go ahead and check it out because we got a lot of good items on sale this holiday season. Alan Mack, next up on our Bears mailbag. Take 2 offensive line guys in the first and second rounds. If you're going O-line the first 2 rounds, that means one of 2 things. One, you're bringing back Trubisky, or you've signed another quarterback. Or 2, that means you've traded back in round 1 and you've gotten an extra pick and you're also drafting a quarterback. If you don't take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, I think something pretty significant has happened. That means you've either decided to roll with Trubisky for next year for whatever reason. Maybe he balls out and goes on a crazy playoff run. Or 2, again, you trade or sign someone in free agency to be your quarterback. I think, Alan, that's the only scenario where you go 2 offensive linemen in the first 2 rounds. I think 1 for sure. 2, I don't think that's very likely. Got a super chat from Chase Lane. That's the easiest way to get on the show. Sam Mustapher looking really good at center. Yeah, look, the Bears have found something in their offensive line realignment here. With Whitehair playing guard, the tackles are still what they are, right? Like you got your boy Charles Leno at left tackle. I think they should draft a left tackle, speaking of drafting offensive linemen. But yeah, they've played a lot better. Maybe Mustafer's your center, Whitehair and Daniels are your guards next year. You're feeling pretty good about that. Then you just need to address the tackle situation. Maybe you sign you upgrade at right tackle in free agency and you draft a left tackle. Something like that could be a possibility. Maybe Alex Bars can be your right tackle next year. He's played fairly well also. Give the Bears credit for shuffling and figuring some things out at their offensive line spot. I agree with you, Chase. Mustafer's looks solid. Now, who's your favorite Bears player of all time? Could be any player from any era. Could be a current player as well. Favorite Bears player of all time. Let me know who your favorite one is down in the comments. Is it Walter Payton? Is it Devin Hester? Is it Jim McMahon? Brian Urlacher? Favorite Bears player ever? Go ahead and let me know. Now, we got Bears videos every single day, and we ask you guys to subscribe because it's 100% free. The latest news, rumors, live Q&A, mock drafts, free agency coverage, especially once we get into this offseason. We do it all here on Chicago Bears Now. So just hit that big red subscribe button. Let's make this the #1 Bears channel on YouTube. We're closing in on 18,000 subscribers, less than 500 away. Thanks to you guys. It's been a fun year here on Chicago Bears Now. Let's keep it going. Hit that big red button and subscribe today. Kevin Puri, Bears... linebacker coach Jay Rogers for new DC. If they're going to keep this regime, it probably means Pagano's back, which I don't know how you guys feel about that. He's kind of been, up and down. Fangio was certainly better. If you have a new regime, you're probably not keeping your linebacker coach as DC. I don't think that's super likely. At the end of the day, they would probably just bring in a new regime and a new defensive coordinator if Nagy gets fired. Rob's next up. Extend A-Rob. Say it louder for the folks in the back. Extend Allen Robinson. The guy just continues to be a badass. He's having a fantastic season. He's over 1,000 yards in 13 games, playing for an offense that most of the season has been, I'm just going to say it and excuse my language, dog shit. And he's put up over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. Yeah, he's had a couple of plays he'd like to have back. He could have 2 or 3 more touchdowns on some of those jump balls. He's been outstanding, though. He's a true #1 receiver. You guys know what to do in the comments. Extend AR, make it happen. That's why Ryan Pace needs to go. That's one of many reasons he needs to go, because he didn't extend Allen Robinson. Zev here. What do you think we could receive for Nick Foles or Trubisky in a trade? Well, to trade Trubisky, you'll have to tag and trade him, and no one's trading for him if you tag him, because then he's making $25 million a year. I think that's his franchise tag number, projected number, if the Bears tag him, which pretty unlikely. Nick Foles, day 3 pick. I mean, you traded a 4th for him, and overall, yeah, 6th-round pick maybe. Another question here from Eamon. If A-Rob really wants out, do you think an A-Rob for OBJ swap could work? Again, you'll have to tag A-Rob because he's a free agent. I don't want Odell Beckham. Has anyone noticed that Baker Mayfield and the Browns play a lot better when Odell Beckham isn't out there? I'm just saying, it's it's one of those weird developments. Just get Allen Robinson back, right? Like this isn't difficult. Re-sign him. Make it happen. Daniel, we get quarterback through the draft and wide receiver and O-line through signings and drafts combined. Yeah, I mean, sure, right? Like, I would rather draft a quarterback. I agree with you there than sign one in free agency. I mean, you got guys like Phillip Rivers available. If you want to trade for one, maybe Dak or Jimmy Garoppolo is out there. Carson Wentz, do you want to trade for him? I'm with you. I'd rather draft a quarterback. O-line, I would like to draft a left tackle in the first or second round, depending on when you get your quarterback, and then maybe sign a right tackle. And then, wide receiver in the draft as well. Maybe like third round, go get somebody. But I don't want to get a receiver in the first 2 rounds because I want to re-sign Allen Robinson. And if you do, you don't need a receiver in the first couple of rounds of the NFL draft. Now, I thought I'd ask you guys this question. Who's your second favorite team in the NFL? Obviously, your favorite team is the Bears. If you don't have a favorite or second favorite, just say don't have one. But if you have a second favorite team, let me know in the comments. I think, if it's like an AFC team, I think that's acceptable. If anyone says the Packers, that you're not a Bears fan because you can't be a Bears and Packers fan. Just doesn't work that way. So who is your second favorite team? A couple more here. Alan Mack, what to do with strong safety next year? Tashawn Gibson, obviously, here on a 1-year deal. If you could get him back for cheap, I'd be okay with that. I like the way he's played. Maybe Deion Bush steps in and can be that guy. You obviously got Eddie Jackson at free. Maybe you draft a guy in the third round or something like that, or go sign someone cheap in free agency. But we'll cross that bridge when it comes. I'll say this: I'm not super worried about strong safety at this point in time. Caden, if the Panthers draft a quarterback and the Bears let Trubisky walk, should we trade for Teddy? If you're going to trade for a quarterback, don't you want it to be a guy that can be like your franchise quarterback? Like if the Panthers punt on Bridgewater after a year, they're saying we don't think he's a franchise quarterback. So why would the Bears feel differently? Like Teddy's better than Foles, for example, but the Bears kind of tried that this year. Let's trade for a fringe starter in Nick Foles and see if it works. Didn't work. The only guys I would trade for are Dak and maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, and the only reason I'd trade for Jimmy is because his contract's super team friendly. If it didn't work after 1 year, you can cut him for like no dead cap hits. So that's the only reason I would consider Garoppolo. Do you think the Bears should trade away Khalil Mack for a higher draft pick and possibly draft a quarterback? If you could get a top 10 pick for Mack, I'd be intrigued. I'm not saying I would do it, but I would be intrigued. Like, if you could trade Khalil Mack and that means you get Zach Wilson, that's intriguing. Like, I love Khalil Mack, but he's not having 15-sack seasons anymore, right? Like, Leonard Floyd has more sacks than him this year. If you get a top 10, top 15 pick, don't you have to consider that? Not saying I'd do it for sure. I'm not advocating for a Mack trade like some of you guys said a couple of weeks ago, but I would at least consider it if you can get a very high pick.